Welcome to the Learn Podcast, David.
Thank you so much for having me.
David Krasky is a licensed school psychologist with over 20 years of experience working with children, teens, young adults, and families. He's also the author of Raising Future Adults, How You Can Help Your Children Grow Up to Be Thriving Adults. So in it, you share strategies that can be used in real life moments. So throughout the book, you seem to have a solution for any type of situation. Has it always been easy for you to know how to relate to children, or is it something that you had to slowly learn?
The joke with a lot of my friend group and a lot of the moms I talk with, and then they ask me, a lot of families I work with, like, well, when are guys going to grow up? When are these little boys going to grow up? I'm like, oh, some of them never. So I think like for a lot of us to kind of have that young person mindset is not difficult when you keep working with kids. And it was always something from an early age, I knew I wanted to help people. And then I started working with kids early on when I was in grad school. And we were really told in grad school that the best way to approach almost any problem is early intervention, focusing more on prevention. And it really resonated with me, not just with mental health issues, but everything, right? Like it's easier to prevent cancer than to treat it. It's easier to prevent osteoporosis by taking care of your body physically than to, okay, now I have it, now I have to fix it. So I love that idea of, well, if we can work with these kids early and we can and catch them and making sure families and children have the right habits and routines, relationships, self-care, we can prevent the majority of things they might deal with otherwise. So that, for whatever reason, I think really hit home to me.
Nice. Okay, so a little bit before we started filming, I mentioned
Yeah.
how online there's a lot of people giving advice, and there was this movement in 2025 of gentle parenting. So I want to ask you, what do you suggest? Because everybody really wants to parent without any yelling or feeling any guilt. So how do you suggest we go about it? Because a lot of people think gentle parenting raises undisciplined kids. So what would you say?
It's interesting the term, right? Like you think gentle, you automatically think soft, loving, caring, kind, compassionate. Where really gentle parenting just means we're going to let the natural consequences really affect the behavior and change the behavior more than my voice tone, right? So gentle parenting is just about, it's the same idea of positive parenting that I think lighthouse parenting kind of falls under there, where the natural consequence of a kid not doing his homework is he gets a bad grade, or he has to stay late and do his homework, or he has to make up work during recess. The consequence is not you yelling. That doesn't really change the behavior. So I think the idea of gentle parenting got a little warped in its true definition. But the idea of using natural consequences itself are great. And so they come into the office with me and they'll say like, well, I did this thing and I missed curfew and now this happened. And I'm like, yeah, like no one's mad at you. This is the consequence of your action and it's here to teach you. We love you. We support you. This is going to be your best teacher. So I love the idea of gentle parenting, where what you say, and it brings up a good point, because I was talking to parents about this yesterday, the feelings of the guilt, and I don't want them to be upset, and I feel bad. That is where the kind of shift has to happen to, well, if you think of it more as they're learning, and I'm giving them the space and the environment to learn in a safe way. So it's not that they're learning and the consequence might be like severe harm or danger. The consequence is they have to stay late for school because they have to finish a project. Good. Like, I'd rather them learn that early than later on in life. And by shifting that thinking for the parents, it really helps when they think of like that kind of long game. They're supposed to make the mistakes now and learn from it. Let's not take away those natural and meaningful consequences that help teach them. And that shift really helps parents feel less guilty, because then they think of it in terms of, oh, this is good, they're learning.
Yeah, that's definitely a great way to look at it. and to change our perspective on that. Okay, so now we're going to jump from talking about kids to children who are on the brink of adulthood, because you wrote about preparing children for life beyond school. So what do you think is actually the most important value that parents should instill in their kids before they're going out on their own?
So there's, the joke, if you follow social media or the trends about snowflakes and these millennials and these Gen Zers are so soft and they're this and that. And I always kind of remind the parents, I'm like, you're the ones that raised them. Like, if you have any issues with whatever, this is on you. So, to your point, yes, there might be a little bit of that, but if we kind of look big picture, we're finding that the last 30, 40 years, we've really pushed hard in our country for the academic part, right? Really pushed, reading, writing, grades, college, SATs, GPAs. What we're kind of finding with focusing so much on that, having more scheduled time, having more technology involved in kids' lives and unlimited in a way, it's reduced the amount of time that kids have had to really build their social and independence skills.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing over and over again from these young adults that they got into this college, but they can't make friends. Or they got into school and they have to get an internship, but they don't know how to interview with someone or connect with people. Or they have no connections, so they can't get the interview and they can't get the internship and they can't get the job they want. So one of the things I've seen for a lot of these young adults, and they're kind of aware of it, is they were taught really well how to take tests and maybe memorize information, but they didn't have as much opportunity. And again, I'll age myself, I'm a proud Gen Xer, to just kind of hang out.
Yeah.
Right? To solve problems with peers, to initiate, to engage with one another, build relationships, go through the breakups and the friend groups and all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're now seeing after, it's been a good 20 years, I think, since smartphone technology and the boom and just reliance on that digital space, along with overscheduling kids and not giving them this freedom and a little bit of helicopter parenting, right? And restricting. So you're getting these kids whose social skills and executive skills are not where they need to be to succeed on their own. And a lot of them are aware of it. And it's pretty scary for them.
Yeah.
And then they end up with me, right? They end up with people like me. They end up listening to these podcasts well, what do I do? And oh my gosh, and this is really scary, and I get it, and I feel for them. So I really try to push the younger and younger ages and the parents on them, they need to play more. They need to hang out with friends, bike around the neighborhood, go to the mall, talk to each other in person, hang out with each other in person, be bored, have downtime. So I'm going to keep beating that drum for a while.
Yeah, what I heard from you is that we need to reintroduce the concept of community amongst our children and just encourage them to get together and just put away the devices. Because do we call ourselves millennials? I feel like we had the advantage. We had the benefit of growing up without the digital age, so we see how much that they need it because they're online. They're already telling us, hey guys, I'm having difficulty with this and this. Like you said, they're meeting up with you looking for a solution. So I think you provided a really good one. All right. So with teens, there's already a hurdle with communication. They're already using lingo that parents do not understand. So I just want to add, how do parents go about improving that communication overall between parents and kids?
I think, and we had our lingo. I joke with the younger people when they come in with their, I learned so much from them. I learned what a huzz is recently. I learned, I don't even know, somebody said it, they're like a Getty. I'm like, a Getty? It was probably my daughter. She's like, yeah, a get together. I'm like, oh. And then we were joking, well, we had our terms. Oh, you did? I'm like, yeah, and even my parents had their terms that their parents didn't know. Where in the past, they would just kind of shrug it off. I'm like, I don't know if they're talking about what they mean. But if parents really want to know, they can engage, they can ask. And if anything, you don't have to make it this punitive. situation where you're judging them, or it's punishment, or you sound ridiculous, or you sound stupid, you can make light of it. You can have fun. You can, one of the best ways, my wife and I joke, to get kids to stop using any of their new terms, if you don't like it, you just start using it. But I find, because, again, like, parents are busy, kids are busy, everyone's kind of on their devices, there's not this time to practice the communication. So when they do, a lot of times the communication is based on something very serious. It's based on grades. It's based on, give me your phone, or you're doing this too much. Or again, it's always like some consequence versus, don't you guys just like ever talk around dinner? Or like when you're in the car, no, he's on his phone and I'm listening to this podcast and this one's doing homework. I'm like, well, there needs to be a very prioritized time and space to practice this, because you can't just pull it out when you want. Like anything else, it's like a muscle. And if you let it kind of atrophy and weaken over time, you're going to have to build it back up again. So I always promote like in-person, actual, like face-to-face, right? Like use words, read body language, voice tone. It's amazing how many kids will show me a phone and say, well, what do you think this person, well, you can't see, what do you think they mean by this? And I look at the phone and I'm like, I don't know. I can't tell I don't know if they're being sarcastic. I don't know if they're being serious.
Exactly.
So that's one thing I think parents also can do more, because more and more parents are having those communications with their kids through text.
Yeah. Which
when I first saw them, like, well, you're in the same house. Why don't you just go to mom's room and talk to her? I'm not doing that. And then I say to the mom, well, why don't you go? Oh, she won't let me in her room. Like, well, she's 13. Like, it's your house.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing I again, like, not just for the coupling of a parent and child, but any of those kind of dyads or connections really need to be had more, practiced more, in person, voice tone. Even if it's uncomfortable, you'll get better at by doing it.
Yeah, because definitely when you said that, it can be difficult to analyze what a person really means when they're texting you, because you don't know their tone of inflection. You don't know if they're being sarcastic or making a joke or what. And I think it's important that if you're big into texting, maybe one step you can take is go make a phone call. That way you really get to know what the person thinks. And, maybe during dinner, go ahead and put the phones away and just talk about your day. That's definitely another practical way. And what I love about your book as you read it, guys, there's so many practical examples that he gives you that you can just start implementing from the moment you start reading, which is why I'm encouraging you guys to get this book. All right. So I think it's very important that we touch on how parents can go about teaching decision-making skills to their children, because they're led to make choices whether or not they want to give into peer pressure and where they want to go to school. Like, choices like that, they vary, but eventually they have to make these big decisions. So I want to ask you, how do we instill in them the best way they can go about making those tough decisions?
The easiest but also hardest way a lot of times is the modeling that we do.
Yeah.
Right, I was talking to parents recently of young children, and they asked something similar, but, for the younger age group.
Yeah.
But it still holds true. And I remind parents, like, your kids are always watching you. Mm-hmm. They're listening, they see how you handle things, they see how you do things. And if you always keep that in mind, even when you're upset or having your own difficulty making decisions, you can talk it out loud. Age appropriately, of course, but you can say, like, hey, I'm having a tough time about staying where I am at this company or going off on my own. And I think I just want to kind of weigh the pros and cons. So I'm thinking this and I'm thinking this, and, let me be thoughtful about this. Let me take my time and make sure it's a good decision, and let me do it this way. That's one first way. You could start right now, whatever the decision is, by modeling it. Anything, even like, should we go out tonight for dinner? Should we stay in? Well, we went out last night, and, we don't need to spend the extra money. Let's do something in tonight. That's a better idea. Let's make it fun, and we'll stay in and cook something together. What do you guys want to eat? So you're modeling, they hear it. As they get older, we like in the educational realm, they talk about, I do, we do, you do. So as they get older, we do. Like, well, what are you thinking about your project? What decision are you thinking for your science fair project? Well, I'm thinking of doing, a model volcano. Like, that's cool. Like, that's a neat idea. Do you think that's something that's done a lot? Like, do you think that's, the teacher's going to be okay? Do you think that's going to be hard to do? Like, have you ever made one? So you want to start asking the questions. Again, you're modeling it, that you want their brain to ask them, right? That their brain asks themselves their own questions, like, is this something I have to do? So you're kind of building those executive skills. So by the time you get to college or making those other decisions, it's a little more automatic that they can look at it, a little more objectively and feel that they have the tools to make the right decisions, while also knowing you don't have to make these decisions on your own. So you can also model that, which I love. Like you talk about before, community. I remind these kids all the time, I know in school and just society we're very individual. That's our culture. That's the way we are here. But it doesn't mean you have to do it that way. You're not going to be penalized for reaching up to others, finding experts, connecting and collaborating with peers or people of guidance or people in the community. And it really alleviates a lot of that, they call it like analysis paralysis, right? When you just freeze and you're like, this is too big, I don't know, so you don't do anything. Where, well, you don't have to do this alone. You can connect with those and you can communicate like, this is really overwhelming, I don't know what to do. Like, that's okay. A lot of us don't. Even adults, we have a tough time. Let's connect with one another. Let's talk it out. Let's do something.
Definitely. I'm hearing you say, let them see you make those tough decisions around the house. Whether those decisions about how you're going to pay things off, let them see you do that. Because that saying, monkey see, monkey do. They'll, copy what you do. And it's so funny because kids really do watch and pay attention to what you do and they mimic it. And even when they hear you talk about your views about certain stances, whether it's like political views or what, you'll hear even little kids like in kindergarten, their teachers will hear your point of view because the kid's mimicking everything that you said around them. It's actually so hilarious.
Absolutely.
And what saddens me is that this week, actually, I heard a girl online talk about how she felt like she couldn't get simple things done. Like maybe it's chores around the house or maybe it's tasks that you need to do. So hearing her talk about the challenges that she's faced because her parents failed her. They failed to, show her how to do these things on her own. It's so sad to hear, but we're in an age where you can look things up online. We have people like you writing books, that can help children in those circumstances. And now I kind of want us to move on to now, parents with neurodivergent, high needs children. What is the best care that they can give them and provide them that supports them in the best way?
I think getting back to the earlier point, definitely building a team has to be number one because, knock wood, like my children don't have very severe needs or need that much care. I couldn't imagine how stressful, time-consuming, financially consuming it can be for families, especially, and there's higher rates of divorce and single parents when kids have special needs. So then parents are doing it on their own. And I always encourage them, like, number one, you do not have to do this on your own. Like, you should not have to. You have people in your schools who can help you. You have community members. You have services. Like, you might have to reach out, but it's worth asking, and it's worth finding what's available to you. And the other part, I always remind, it's funny, like we're talking just about the parents, right? Not even how we can help the kids. Like, if you're not okay, mom or dad or caregiver, you are not going to be able to be your best self as a parent. You need to take care of yourself. This is not going to be just an 18-year thing where, oh, now they're an adult and they can go off on their own. Like, for a lot of them, no, it's not that. If any hopes, it might be maybe in their 20s or 30s they can be more independent, but for some, this is a lifelong endeavor. So I think of it almost like as a marathon versus a sprint. So those are two of the things I always make sure parents know first and foremost. You don't have to do this alone. You need to take care of yourself. When it comes to the kids that have these types of needs, we're better than we are 50 years ago.
Definitely.
At identifying, providing resources. We're not that close to where we need to be.
Yeah.
Because we still don't have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're decent, and it's better for things that maybe are very direct, and we have the research. Oh, we know that this type of reading instruction is great for kids with reading disabilities and nothing else going on. Wonderful, we figured that out. But when you have neurodiversity where the spectrum just ranges, it's individualized. So a lot of it, again, comes back to, well, what experiences can you make sure the kids have that they're learning and growing from? So one of the big booms in the last 20 or 30 years, it's been in autism and ADHD, right? The rates of it have really increased.
Yeah.
A lot of the kids I work with personally have one or both of these. And it's, when you talk about how broad it is of a spectrum, I mean, it ranges. Where a lot of the kids, I'll remind them, like, you're not so different, even though you say you are, from a lot of these other teens and young people and the things they want. And we can help you and support you along the way and get the things you want and teach you the skills. But again, it's going to take practice and work and determination and a team. One thing we learned, which is great in the last 100 years, is that brains can change and grow. Right? We can form new neural connections. We can learn new skills. We can get better. It might not be optimal. It might not be here.
Yeah.
But it can definitely improve.
Yeah.
So I'm always one, like, first and foremost, to get whoever the kids are, the young people, to buy in to, if you want to improve on something or get better at something, it's going to take some work.
Yeah.
Now, the work might be, you're going to go to the mall with a couple of kids from your class and hang out for a few hours. Where it's hard is that's uncomfortable for you, and you right away want to just walk away from the group and get on your phone and put your headphones on and zone out from the world because it relaxes you. And it's stressful to be with peers and feel like, well, I don't know what to say and this is awkward and then whatever. But that's good for you. You know, you're going to do this thing that's hard. You're going to listen, you're going to engage, and we can practice. We can talk about what are some good initiation type of topics or things you can say or ask, or funny ways to transition the conversation. And the more you do it, you'll get better at it. It's the exposure. For kids with disabilities, a lot of parents want to shield their kids from that discomfort instead of, no, they need more of it. It's the opposite. It's more play dates. It's more hanging out with peers. It's more physical activity, not less. I think that comes from just, and my generation, your generation, probably a little older than you, have this constant need to protect our kids from any discomfort, emotional or physical or otherwise. And that shift in mindset again has to go towards, no, the discomfort, as long as it's safe, you know, they're not going to like be in danger or harm, that's where the growth occurs. That's good.
Right. Those are all like great pieces of advice. And you know, what I like about this movement is that it's bringing a lot of help to parents who do have children who are high needs. And the latest thing I heard is that, you know, churches are now implementing spaces for these children so that they can feel more comfortable even in church. And I was so thrilled to hear that because that wasn't the case back in the day. So when you say that there's been great improvement in this, I already see it happening, you know. Now, I just want to thank you so much for your time, David. I want to ask you where listeners can find your book, Raising Future Adults, how you can help ensure your children grow up to be thriving adults.
So one funny thing I always tell whoever I'm working with, especially the younger people, I am not super tech savvy, but I am trying, and I'm learning myself and growing. So, created a website, right? So, raisingfutureadults.com. You'll find links to be able, if you want to purchase the book, print or ebook, I write a blog that I try to do 2 to 3 articles a week, very similar to the ones that are in the book, that are very up to date based on new research that's coming out, statistics, trends that we see or hear online or in the news. I try to upload and share links to very useful and helpful information that parents can go to if they have questions that are reliable. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, you can get the book, Kindle edition. So, yeah, pretty easy to find.
Yeah, I'll have all those links in the description box. Guys,
thank you.
Yeah, guys, this book provides practical scripts and actionable strategies that parents can use immediately during any situation. So, like I said, you can find those details in the description box. Thank you again for your time. And if you listeners enjoyed listening to today's conversation, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share, and comment your thoughts down below. This has been the Learn Podcast. Thank you so much for listening.